Europe offers plenty of stuff to skate, from famous skate plazas, massive skate parks, and some skate spots that I'm sure you recognize. But where's the best place to skate in Europe?
I spent the last 2.5 months skateboarding in 18 different states throughout Europe, hitting iconic hotspots and some lesser known places, in search of finding out which European country is the best for skateboarding. Over 75 nights and across 20 cities, all of the funding came out of my own pocket for this video, culminating in what's probably the biggest and most expensive skate YouTube project that's ever been done. In this video, after skating in each city, I'm going to give it a rating out of 5 stars that's based on street spots, skate infrastructure, and overall skate culture, so that I can point you all in the right direction if you're looking to do some skate tourism in Europe. At the end of the video, I'll also be picking 3 honorable mentions that you probably wouldn't think to visit, but should, and my overall top 3 picks, ending with what I think is the best place to skate in Europe. Before we get into it, I do have to say that this video is limited and that I wasn't able to visit many of the eastern states, but I am hoping to make it back one day. Also, everything I'm about to say is my opinion, so if you disagree, let me know in the comments. Now, before you get too bored, let's hop on the plane to hit our first country of the 18, the first of the 3 Baltic states, Estonia, where I spent a day skating around Tallinn. The Tallinn tour starts in Freedom Square, where the first trick I film of my whole trip, this happens. And that's probably because I haven't been on my board for a while and probably still shouldn't be on my board yet due to an ankle injury. I re-injured 10 days before my flight here, but that's just the game I'm playing. Freedom Square is easily Tallinn's most popular spot, where this volcano was added during Simple Session this year, and an obstacle added to a public space that you're allowed to skate? Yeah, just wait till you see some of the stuff we've got in the rest of this video. Tallinn was probably my most unplanned and sporadic tour of the whole trip. I had no friends to skate with and didn't know any other spots besides Freedom Square, so I was kind of just on free play. I stopped by this pretty mid skate park for a few tricks and then made my way towards the water and found, to my surprise, a bunch of spots that were actually pretty decent. And even if I didn't get a trick on everything, there was a lot of potential over here. A good chunk of Tallinn is the old town, which is mostly cobblestone and unskateable, but I did see this rail which I'm thinking is definitely skatable yet untouched. And I got pretty lucky this day because Estonia and all the Baltics are usually very rainy. There's also Kruli Park, the best skate park in Tallinn, where I'm going back for a side quest in about 2 minutes, but for now I'll say that you've got some good spots, a solid plaza, but the skate parks aren't exactly the best, and let's be real, there wasn't anything special or so plentiful about Tallinn. Definitely not enough to warrant a skate trip solely here. Our first stop is getting 2 stars. A hop and a skip down south, and now we're in Riga, Latvia, which might be the secret hub for emo people. This is where my new Instagram following really pulled through because an IG story connected me with the homies Plocha and Nix. We met up at Centro Sportos Quartos, a pretty solid skate park with a huge pump track, but it unfortunately started raining during the only day I had to skate. But no stress, we hit the local parking garage, which kind of felt like it could be a portion of that One Skate 3 map, and grabbed a budget lunch before stopping by Tricity, the local skate shop, which was right next to Diles Theater, where they held Go Skate Day this year. And man, this ground is so bad, respect to the people that actually skate this ledge. Here at the National Museum of Art is where it gets interesting. Local legend and serious shredder Matters Apsa spearheaded a project with the Latvian skateboarding collective to put in this ledge and steep bank that you're allowed to skate. This was shocking to me that they not only permit skateboarding here, but they've also augmented the space for it in front of the museum. Imagine that at the New York City Natural History Museum. Well done Matters and well done Latvia. Also, apparently this is where everyone charges their phones. Passing by another spot and catching the bus, we get to the National Library, where Matters did the same thing over here. I mean, the library converted into a skate park? I actually couldn't believe what these guys were telling me. I mean, have you ever seen a sign permitting skateboarding? I was gutted that it was wet because this place looked like so much fun. Final spot check is this very solid skate park, which also looked like a blast, before treating the boys to dinner and saying peace out. For a country that a lot of Americans have probably never heard of, Riga's skate scene was really impressive. Definitely better skate parks than Tallinn, and although the spots and special third spaces were very cool, I just don't think it has quite enough to warrant a rating over 3 stars. W Matters though. Next up, I made the boldest decision of my whole trip and took a bus back to Tallinn so I could attend the Monster X Creature Viking Raid event and make a recap video about it, which was the worst performing video I've put out since I started making content. Took an 11 p.m. bus back to Riga, slept an hour and a half, and was on a Lime scooter at 4 in the morning to fly out of the country at 7 for Vilnius, Lithuania. I'm gonna say right now, I don't know what was more impressive to me, Riga's utopian third spaces or Vilnius's raw street spots, because man, this town was like a Skate 3 map. I start the tour at Board Sports Skate Park and Shop with the homie Aeneas, who built this place up from nothing and has also been skating in Vilnius for the last 20 years or so. A real local legend. After getting a quick session at the park, we head into town to explore some spots, and there was really a lot of stuff over here. And that's probably why Matters Apsa decided to move to Vilnius and went on several rampages destroying the spots and especially the handrails in this town. The local outdoor park was overrun with scooters and had a flow that just didn't feel right, but here's a spot that you may actually recognize. My ankle wasn't feeling great, but I had to give my staple a try, and after some speed wobbles and some truck tightening, I managed to roll away from this one. The next day we passed by Vinkas Kudirka's square. Aeneas calls this place the Makba of Vilnius, and he was actually one of the first people to wax these ledges back in 2004. Also, believe it or not, they tried to skate stop this place by adding rails. Across the street at the Opera, we've got these massive hubbas, Quim Cardona with a backside 50-50 way back in the day, and they've also got this double set that Matters skated in the rain. Here's a huge bump to rail that Matters did a couple tricks on, and the spot under the bridge that's half DIY, half spot, pretty sick. Climbing through some bushes, we make our way into the Riverside DIY, which I felt very lucky to skate because they tore it down just a few days after I left. Another iconic spot is at the Cathedral, where this was the homie Tazarus' first time ever skating street. My ender for Vilnius is at the iconic Mindaugas hubba, which they just added rumble strips to, but good thing the object dropper was working so we could modify this thing for my backside no slide. And slipping in a final spot check just up the street at this Big Apple. Vilnius was a sleeper city for sure. So many great skate spots, some of which are still waiting to be unlocked. If there was a better public outdoor park, this place would be in the 4-star range, but for now I'm gonna give it a 3. After Vilnius, I spent a day with my grandparents in Giraitchi, where I had some initial thoughts about skaters and skateboarding in Europe.
Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, there's really not much skating coverage in these states. And that being said, I was really surprised with how strong the skate culture seemed. When I went to the event in Estonia, saw that flyer at Freedom Square, I think it was, and if I hadn't seen it, I would have just not known about the event at all. Like, I had also spent the last month or so looking up online European skate events in Europe, trying to find stuff for me to go to on this trip, and I couldn't find anything. And even after seeing that flyer, I looked it up and couldn't find really anything. That also speaks to, based on speaking to some of the skaters I was with, the community here is really a small local community. As an American and a New Yorker and a skater from there, a lot of emphasis is placed on Instagram and social media in a way that is not much so in these Baltic states. At least I know it's quite different from other places in Europe. I met this guy, Andris, in Estonia at this event, who was so good at skating. He was doing this kickflip crook every single try and just cruising the park, doing all these tricks easy, no problem. And he had 800 followers on Instagram. Brought it up to Aeneas and Thomas, and they were like, yeah, followers and all of that here, people don't really care about, or it's not really that important. Someone maybe with 100 followers, if they're good at skating and they are, they have a cool personality and whatever it is, or tapped into the local community, that means way more than someone with a bunch of followers who's average at skating. It's changing now a little too. Aeneas tells me that he helps run the Converse team in Lithuania, and he says some of the sort of higher ups are now emphasizing more followers and whatnot. But I think that's really a big difference. That was shocking to me. I don't know, back in America too, I remember I was trying to collab recently with this company, and I was sort of pitching them, hey, I'll do this video, I'll do this review or whatever. Are you guys able to pay me? And they were saying they could only send me a box. They couldn't pay me because I didn't have 10,000 followers yet. And yeah, so that was really shocking to me, honestly.
Enough yapping, let's make some moves. If we thought Vilnius was like a Skate 3 map, well, the city of Copenhagen in Denmark is literally a Skate 3 map. Many of the architects who designed the public spaces here are skateboarders themselves, and were clear to design parks and third spaces with skateboarders in mind. Obviously, it's not like every space here is for skateboarding, but it's sometimes quite hard to tell what's a true street spot and what's more of a skate space. I filmed a whole street project in Copenhagen while I lived here to study abroad for 4 months in 2022 and never got kicked out of a spot once. There are some great skate parks here too. Fælleparken is probably one of my top 10 favorite skate parks I've been to. This park I kind of hate, and Copenhagen Skate Park is an indoor park that they renovate every year. One thing that's particularly unique about Copenhagen are these sort of skate spaces that show the city values skateboarding the same way that it values football or basketball. This one by the beach was super fun, even though this rail might be a bit of a hazard. And this space by the Reffin food court has so many great obstacles.
I'm really glad I didn't scorpion in front of all those kids. That would have been pretty embarrassing. I got away with it. Yay! Yeah, see, now you like me.
I came all the way from America to watch you.
Hey, I came all the way from America to show them, so...
I'm looking back on this stuff I can't believe it's actually like this. I mean, Copenhagen is a dream, and they do have a very reliable metro system, but the way to get around here is on a bike. I got quite lucky this week because the bad part about Copenhagen is that it's very cold, wet, and dark for at least 70% of the year. And it's also quite expensive, but that's because they've got these social and government programs that keep everyone happy, healthy, and beautiful. So 100%, there's no question Copenhagen is a skateboarding utopia that deserves our first rating of 5 stars. Could lose points because of the year-round weather and how expensive it is, but if we're thinking sole skate spot spots and infrastructure, it's going to be hard to top this place. And if you do make it to Copenhagen, don't forget to stop in Malmö, Sweden, which is a 45-minute train ride away. This place shares similar traits to Copenhagen in the sense that the city is very skate-friendly. In fact, this is where the famous Brigadier Skate High School is. You can look that up if you want some more information. Malmö is also the home of the last remnants of Philly's Love Park, which Brigadier, Malmö's skate association, purchased from the city of Philly to memorialize the renowned spot over here in Sweden. We should all be more like Scandinavia. Aside from Love and the Skate High School, Malmö is also stacked with a bunch of great street spots, a massive skate park called Stapelbadsparken Skate Park, which is probably in my top 5 skate parks I've ever been to. We also got this spot by the train station that looks like it's coming straight out of a Skate 3 spot. Doesn't quite blow it out the park like Copenhagen does, but there is still a really strong skate scene here. You got the Skate High School, a handful of solid street spots, many that I'm sure that I missed. An S-tier skate park and Love Malmö alone should be on every skater's bucket list. I'm gonna go 4 stars. Now I'm jumping over to the Netherlands where I stayed with my boy Manu, and man, I miss this guy so much, even though he sleep talks like no one I've ever met. And although most of it was in Dutch, I swear this dude was in his sleep saying, "What the helly? What the helly?" Anyways, he lives in Delft where there's not really much to skate, so we spent a day pushing around the Hague. This skate park is pretty much the best one they've got, but the streets offer a lot more over here. Like the Leuven University with this impact section. And this here is the Palace of Justice where you've got some crispy double ledges and another impact section where Manu couldn't quite make it work, but Yip Koreva is showing us how to skate this place. We tried to get a clip on this long ledge, but ran into way too many roadblocks, so we headed over to this apartment complex where we're almost too old to be doing stuff like this. And then hit was probably the best spot here. The locals call this the dream spot. You've got a bunch of affordances at this spot between the bank, these ledges, and some great flat ground where my boy Jair inspired me to learn how to properly nollie heel flip. We'll see how that turns out through the rest of the video. A final shout for this area is Spouwplein Plaza. This was the most iconic spot here that the government closed down for some time, but they've actually just reopened it, so if you decide to visit The Hague, you've got to check it out. An alright skate park and a tight-knit local scene. The street spots make this place a 3-star stop at best. And if you make it to the Netherlands, you should probably also stop through Amsterdam. So let's do exactly that. The day that I spent skating around Amsterdam with my friend Miko might have been the longest and most tiring day of my whole trip. 5 skate parks and over 5 street spots. I'm gonna rapid fire this one. Starting on the outskirts of town, we got the new Browser Park, a well-rounded park, but didn't get to skate it very long. A sketchy gap to rail and then a long curved rail that's out of a dream. Before making our way to Kragness DIY, a solid TF, but the ground was pretty rough. Making our way into the city, we see the new skate park they're starting to build, along with a skate park that's outside of a school, before stopping by Zeeburg Skate Park, what's known as
the biggest, most expensive, and notoriously the worst skate park in the Netherlands.
I made an entire video reviewing this place and seeing if it's actually that bad. All I'll say right now is that there's no flat bar. I'm so tired at this point, but Miko is still going strong spot after spot, and there was a whole lot more to skate in this city than I had originally thought. Our last stop is Olympia Plain. Felt like the Tompkins Square of Amsterdam, except without the fake New Yorkers and pretty girls walking past. And there's the second credit card of the trip. They've got a great flat bar here where Miko makes me wonder if I can do this with a backsmith, and on this day they had a clinic where you could spray paint your own clothing. Amsterdam is a popular tourist destination, but not spoken about too much in the skateboarding world. I was surprised with the number of spots and skate parks here. Honestly, a really solid skate city. I'm giving it 4 stars. After a very short train ride, we're at our first of our 3 stops in Belgium, Antwerp. My connection bailed on me the day we were supposed to link up and skate here, so my spot selection was dictated by this video by Abel Kleinbach. A great piece of work, by the way. I only really went here because my IG crush told me to, and I don't know if it was because I had to do it all alone or because my ankles were hurting, but my morale was in the mud. But yeah, they've got some nice spots, I guess. KNS is probably the most iconic. Dylan Reeder frontside board slide on this massive rail back when there was still a curb there, and a few other possibilities that were cut off due to the fair. And this spot is extra special because the city added in this angle iron to accommodate skateboarders. Respect to Antwerp for that, and spoiler alert, we're gonna see that augmentation again soon. You've also got the Palace of Justice over here, kind of mid spot to be honest. But these quarter pipe things were fun. Some good street spots, a decent skate park, but all in all, I was just not that juiced on Antwerp. I've got to give this place 2 stars. Moving on, thankfully, I've finally got some social interaction in Brussels, where I'm at Ride All Day, Brussels' oldest skate shop, to meet up with the homies Goran and Caesar, who are gonna show me around the city and do most of the skating for me. Thanks, boys. This is where I could make the case that Brussels is an underrated skate destination. A few skate parks, one with a bunch of scooter kids and the other one with, there's a bunch of street spots here though, some of them quite renowned. At the same plaza as those hubbas, you've got this mani-pad to stair set combo and a couple of spots as we make our way up the road to what I'm told is the best flat ground in Belgium. I thought my nollie heel was getting alright until Goran showed me I'm still a long ways from getting like him and Jair. The spot was under construction, but usually you can skate these mani-pads that we were skating anyway. A sketchy street gap here that bro was hitting way too casually, and then this is...
It's the beginning of Skate 3.
This is the European Parliament, a massive plaza that you actually don't get kicked out of quite the ideal situation. And lastly, a spot at Place du Congrès with some augmented angle iron. And there's still more of this coming. This is a good skate destination, especially if you want to hit somewhere less obvious. Skate parks aren't the best, but a bunch of good street spots and a decent skate scene. Let's go with 3 stars. And now I'm in Leuven for the day to skate with the homie Sachi, who's pretty much the king of content in Belgium. And despite the fact that this was a small town, the skate infrastructure here was incredibly impressive. The station spot that we're at first had some sort of agreement with the tangential businesses that let skaters skate here most of the time. A few hundred meters away is an obstacle made by an initiative called the Straatmakers that is surprisingly just here legally in this public space. It would be dope to see something like this in the US. There's also this spot at a school where I guess the skaters and administration had some sort of agreement that let the Straatmakers cut the kink off of these rails so they could be skated better. And that's pretty unique to see something like that done legally. It's also worth noting that Sachi was the only other skate creator, let alone creator, that I met during my travels. He told me that he thinks people in Europe are just generally more reserved about sharing their lives on the internet, and that he attributes his content career to the bit of British in him. Check out his pages linked below. Sachi, you the man. Leuven was impressive for what it was worth. A small town that I can't say I'd recommend by itself, but the Belgian package of Antwerp, Brussels, and Leuven would probably be 3.5 or 4 stars altogether. And the last thing I'll say about not just Belgium, but European cities as a whole is they're quite beautiful, but there's a lot of rain and a lot of cobblestone, making skating kind of difficult at points. Now it's time for the smallest country of the trip.
Bro, this is so heavy. Oh my god.
Frankly, I really only visited Luxembourg for Petru Skate Park because
There's no question. This is the most beautiful skate park I've ever seen in my life. And if anyone says they've been to one more beautiful, you're gonna have to link it to me because I don't believe you.
here I got connected with my boy Ornello, Luxembourg local legend, and wow, what an amazing guy and a seriously skilled skateboarder as well. Also, shout out to the homie Nuno and all of the other super friendly people I met over here. Now, some of you fellow Americans might not even know Luxembourg exists because it's one of Europe's smallest countries, but it's another sleeper state with some very interesting street spots. Right off the bat though, I'll say that it's expensive to be here, but a caveat to that is that the public transportation is free. The cathedral here they've been skating for over 20 years and is complete with its very own Luxembourg leap of faith, which someone was able to conquer, but I want to see a frontside flip or something. Down the hill, you've also got this insane roll-on grind. I mean, Steve can think what he wants, but that is so def. Perhaps the most popular spot here is at the Opera House. Plenty of impact, a nice duck-to-huck sequence at the entrance, a wall ride, and around the corner a hubba with an awkward run-up. Before the main part of this, hold up, did you guys see that? Is that coping? Yeah, it is, and it's over here as well, of course added with the consent of the city. Come to think of it, it's obviously cool that cities in Europe recognize skateboarding as something legitimate, but this could also be a little bit controversial to some skaters. Like when a raw natural street spot suddenly becomes a bit unacceptable for the street part. I don't know, you guys let me know what you think. A couple other spots on our way back into town to say farewell. Ornello, you are the man, thank you for showing me around. Another sleeper city here. We've got one of the best skate parks in the world, a solid amount of street spots, a tight-knit scene, and an overall beautiful city. One of the most expensive places in the EU, we've got to go 3.5 stars. It would be higher, but the city is a bit small and limited.
And on the topic of expenses, you're probably wondering, how did I afford to travel for 2.5 months and where did I sleep? So for my last 2 years of college, I worked for a company doing a lot of remote work and also worked in person when I was home on breaks. And when I graduated, I worked full-time for about 8 months. Since I was living with my parents and pretty good with my money, my baseline expenses were quite low. But when I quit last February and filmed this video, I did spend a good amount of that. So the candid reason that I could take this trip and not worry too much is that when I turned 21, my grandmother gave me a little bit of money. And I recognize I'm extremely privileged to be able to have had that support and have the experiences I had in this video. That being said, I don't think there would have been a better use for this money. So thank you, Grandma, for being my sponsor. I stayed at hostels virtually my entire trip, spending about 35 euros a night, except for these places where my friends and family hooked it up, so thank you all for that. And for the big number, my credit card bill tells me I spent about $10,000, including all of my flights, my $500 train pass that covered 10 days of travel, the hostels, eSIMs, boards I broke, and food. I booked pretty much everything last minute and ate out a lot, whether it be fast food, grocery store sandwiches, or actual restaurants. So you can definitely spend less than 10 grand if you cook, take the bus, and plan everything in advance. So yeah, this was an expensive video. And if you're enjoying it and want to support me, then a like and a subscribe will go a long way. Or if you want to sponsor the next one, it's not too late. Okay, back to the skating. Trekking back up north, I get to my first major city of the tour. I mean, I guess that's debatable. But the point is that Berlin is so vast that I had to be very selective with where I chose to skate. So I spent an evening stalking all of Versace Plug's posts. Well, back when he had posts. And with the help of my friends, I got to hit pretty much all of the spots from his iconic Instagram edits. This short I made was a personal favorite of mine, and a lot of fun to film. Culture Forum, of course an iconic plaza, probably top 3 or so of the best known skate plazas in Europe, where I strained my elbow first tee on this double set. And the angle I chose, I realized probably doesn't show just how long
along this middle section is, this is the biggest street ollie I've ever done. You don't get kicked out, a good array of obstacles, but not super accessible for beginners aside from the two-stair and flat. Across the street from Culture Forum is the National Gallery. The spot is pretty much a ledge and some impacts, not as much to skate as the former. The Poland Memorial is a solid huck-to-huck spot that I just didn't have the energy to jump down. Tempelhof is on the edge of an abandoned airfield in a mix between an art project and a skate park. I thought it was pretty cool. Then you've got Poppelplatz, which is best known for this bump, also bigger than I thought it would be. Pause. When it comes to skate parks, you've got Dogshit Park, which is a fun cruise, and then Skatehalle Berlin, where my friend Charlie works. This is probably the most comprehensive and biggest skate park in Berlin, and they've got an Olympic factory in the works upstairs. More than enough to skate in this city, too much in fact for my 3 days there. The street skating is really good, the only downside of that being the rough ground, and the thing I felt was really missing was a large modern public skate park. A great skate destination, I'm going 4.5 stars. Pushing north, I'm at the most random stop of my trip, Tricity, Poland. A cluster of, you guessed it, 3 cities right on the coast. We're starting in Gdansk, where I'm at Stocznia, a skate park made entirely out of boats. You don't see that every day. I'm joined here by my friend Zubi, another internet link-up, who helps me make my way into the local mall where I meet the Skate Care skate park team and do my first interview, which made me feel a little more important than I think I am. The team here tells me that with tourist season in full effect, the street spots aren't going to be great to skate, so we head to Ergo Arena Park. The whole squad was going off. I mean, these guys just wouldn't stop landing tricks during the session. And the homie Simon here, the next big skater out of Poland, I'm telling you all right now. This is also the bit of my trip where my ankle started feeling better and my confidence came back. I'm not saying it's MBD, but I'd be curious to see a clip of someone else doing a backside 360 pressure heel flip. In Sopot, there wasn't really much to skate at all, so the next day we headed to Gdynia for a session at AB Investor Park. Still flicking down, but the nollie heel is coming together. Me and Frenek both took an L trying to milk something out of this street rail, but up the hill, Gramps is cool with him doing a power ollie to hill bomb on his property. W Grandpa. A really nice marble ledge at the top of this hill before we make our way back down to the shore to check out the street gap and then end the trip with a drop-in that this lady was really upset about, and say what you want, but this is the nature of street skateboarding. Some alright skate parks, a small skate scene, and some okay spots. I can't in good faith recommend Tricity for a skate trip. I'm gonna give this place 2.5 stars. But the next stop I'm going to, oh man, this place is something else. Czechia's city of Prague is home to what I think is the best skate spot in the world. I was so infatuated with Stalin Plaza's granite playground that I made a whole YouTube video about it where I spoke to local skaters and got the inside scoop on all of the lore. So watch that if you want to learn more. Besides this spot that quite literally has everything, Prague has got a good amount of skate parks that are becoming, well, more progressive, which my friend Mark will elaborate on.
Estonia skate park. I think this is like the best representation of what Prague City can do for skateboarding, because they've got a whole recovery area with changing rooms and showers that are inside these containers. And then you have this plaza, and there are also lights, which is not a custom usually here in Czech Republic. So I think this is like the best representation of what we can do for skateboarding.
There's so much more to Prague in terms of street and skate parks that I didn't get to visit because I was so focused on filming this Stalin documentary, and I really wish I got to see more because it would give my rating a little more legitimacy. But from everything I saw and heard from my friends and from videos, I'm gonna give this place 5 stars overall. Without Stalin, it would probably be closer to 4. Heading back down south, I make it to Vienna, Austria, where I now need a new board. But it's all good, I got my hands on a different and dare I say better local brand. Shout out to Fabian and Uber Fordor, genuinely one of the best feeling boards I've ever skated. Vienna was a pleasant surprise. I didn't really know what to expect here and didn't have any connects when I touched down, but I met a really sick crew of local skaters. Like, I wish me and the boys I grew up skating with still skated as much as these guys. They're always out filming street and were so much fun to hang out with. The local park here has got all the obstacles you'd want in a TF, and it's just a short skate from the Donauinsel OG street spot. Both of these next to the Donauinsel train station, but what I think made Vienna stick out is not the park or the street spots like this 18-stair handrail that the homie Ben grinded for TikTok Live, but it's the DIYs that they have. This DIY, known as Rollerdam, has a real unique landscape to it and some super fun obstacles. You can definitely thread together a sick line if you pump everything properly. And then you've got the massive St. Mark's, home of this infamous magic carpet obstacle, for sure the sketchiest thing I've ever skated, and after a close call, I had to tell myself to chill out. Apparently they're trying to tear this place down, so definitely visit it if you have the chance. A couple other notable spots in Vienna are this 4-flat Jeff de Cesare dream spot with a larger version around the corner, some miscellaneous impacts that you're bound to find in any city, and Karlsplatz, where you can do some object modifying, moving this bench over the grass gap, or down the hill at the foot of this statue, you can skate this adjustable grate where I could have lost my fingers. My friends were curious why I came to Vienna for skateboarding, but honestly, this city had it all. A good skate park, DIYs, and plenty of street spots. This is another sleeper city. If it had a great skate park and a plaza like Stalin or Culture Forum, I think it could be above 4 stars. I'm gonna say 3.5, the boys do not have it as bad as they think. Hopping on the plane for the first time in a month, I make it to Milan, Italy, where everyone probably knows why I'm here. Milano Centrale is a skate spot that I'm sure you've seen somewhere online in the last few years because Lil Rocha and the rest of the Rat Rats crew have really blown this place up. Despite its slightly deteriorating condition, this plaza is heaps of fun and offers so much to skate between this side of the main plaza, which is the most well-known, a variety of different ledges and small stair sets in the middle, and across the street you've got this ledge that's been in countless skate videos. But is there more to Milan than Centrale? There are of course other spots here, as you'd expect with any major city, but if you want my brutally honest opinion, I was a bit underwhelmed with this place in terms of the skate scene. But I'll show you everything I saw. You've got the iconic Rat spots like this 8 stair, Picoca Plaza, which had this really fun mini hubba. Fornellini Station's got a few stuff to skate, and this small outledge where I do what's actually one of my favorite tricks of the whole trip. And lastly, there's this cool Easter egg, the now capped hubba that Corey Kennedy hurricaned in pretty sweet. I'll also note that a lot of the places to skate are kind of far away from each other. If you don't have a scooter, it's going to be a bit of a headache. For the hype that Milan gets as a top skate destination, it didn't really live up to it for me. Obviously, Centrale is a fantastic spot. There are some pretty good skate parks. I didn't get to visit all of them, but the scene just didn't feel like it had that flair that I was expecting. And I didn't see that many skaters, but this might be because everyone appeared to be on vacation for the week. Perhaps controversial, I'm giving Milan 3.5 stars. Continuing the zigzag, I fly into France. To me, I never saw Paris as a traditional hotspot for skateboarding or people that liked Americans, but on my second trip there, I may have been wrong about both. One thing I came to learn quite quickly is that they don't really have the strongest skate park culture here, something they share more or less with the rest of Europe. Instead of skate parks, they have these sort of spaces like Place de la Bastille, where damn, I really have to learn how to hold a frontside no slide like my friend Noe, he's a pro. Another well-known spot is not too far away at Place de la République, where I'm getting a little more comfortable with my nollie heel flips. But perhaps the most beautiful skate spot in the city you can pick out from the top of the Eiffel Tower, this is Palace de Tokyo. Super smooth ground, virtually the only flat bar in the city, and a massive, and I mean massive double set that Taishan switch trade. Also, this is my Australian friend Leo, mad who did this heel flip in like 4 tries. Speaking of insane Australians, this is the hubba that Jack O'Grady back crooked, and really one of the gnarliest spots I've seen in person. That gap in is no joke. The last spot to note is Créteil, a plaza where you've got these twin hubbas that I'm sure you recognize, a pretty good sized 3 block and a massive 9 stair. This was just too easy for Leo, he's really the goat of hucking. I went to Paris kind of expecting to be bullied by the French like I was during my last trip here, but honestly I had a very pleasant experience. And despite the lack of real skate parks, I mean, they have this place which I had a little bit of fun at, but it kind of felt like a park for scooters, if that makes sense. The skate space plazas are pretty fun. Plenty of street spots that I didn't show. All this place is missing is an S-tier skate park. I'm gonna give it 4 stars. More iconic than every spot in Paris combined is one stair set that I sought out to lay my eyes on. The Lyon 25 stair. A tiny bit shorter in length than I thought it was gonna be. I guess this one side quest actually paid off. I almost hit max XP on this one. I was losing sleep over that U for like a week and a half. But I think I'm over it now. At least Ollie seemed to forgive me. My bad, bro. Back on the battle bus, which is really just the train, this next stop is definitely going to be a favorite for best place to skate in Europe, so I'm gonna start off with a bit of hating. When skaters hear Barca, they think Macba, of course, which yeah, it's a cool spot, lots of skaters to meet, but the spot itself, especially after losing the 5 stair and all that extra space, I just don't think is that great or that accessible.
Nor do my friends Alec and Micah, who have been living here for a few months.
The good thing though is that Barcelona literally has too many spots. 3 days of skating was not enough to see even a portion of it, and 3 months probably wouldn't be either. Like actually too many spots. I haven't felt this pressured on making choices to skate since I was in LA for 2 days. But I focused on getting to the iconic spots that I grew up seeing in videos. Besides the well-known ones, there are so many great spots, many of which you can find on the Shinner app, which is telling me there's over 600 spots in this area. But here's a spot just outside of the Camp Nou that isn't on Shinner, where I pretty much sacked the rail 3 times before this beautiful woman tells me to lock in.
Good luck. Thank you.
And they do have skate parks here, of course, like the ones I'm flashing on the screen right now, but I just didn't really go to any besides this pump track where they had a flat bar, and apparently you can get robbed there. When it comes to an optimal city for skateboarding, Barcelona has it all. A very strong and widespread community of skaters, a bunch of skate shops. Despite my criticism of Macba, it's very culturally significant, and there are so many street spots that you probably won't even want to go to the skate parks. Barca can't receive anything less than full marks. Making my way to the UK, I'm now at another cultural hotspot. This is London's South Bank. Definitely one of the more recognizable spaces in skateboarding, and clearly the most popular in London, because my first day there I ran into Dylan Jabe and TJ Rogers. And I don't blame everyone for congregating here. South Bank carries a ton of history and culture, with it being one of the oldest skate spots in London that skaters came to augment and adopt as their own space. It's also an important space because London is such a rainy place. But luckily the sun did come out for a little while, and I had some time to check out the actual street spots like St. Paul's Cathedral with this famous 10 stair. My friend Ethan also hit a kickflip on this gap around the corner, and down the block from that is this outlet, Sengo Prevost, again with the backsmith pop out. There are a few other spots around the Big Ben, which as a New Yorker I think is actually pretty small, but when I asked Ethan and the other locals at South Bank about where to go to in terms of iconic and substantial substantial street spots, they didn't really have much for me. Apparently the only actual street plaza is here at Cabot Square and Canary Wharf, where they've definitely got some decent features, but nothing too special, and I'm sure there are plenty of spots in London I missed, but honestly, for a city that's so big and culturally dense, you'd think there would be a little bit more to skate. Not a whole bunch of skate parks or spots from what I was shown. South Bank is a cool vibe and very iconic with a strong scene of local skaters there, but overall, I'm gonna have to give London a brutal 2.5 stars. Heading up north, I make it to Glasgow, Scotland, where I'm not even gonna try to do the accent, and it was shocking to me that for a country that speaks English, I was kind of struggling to understand people. The transit museum I'm at now is a main spot here and a cool third space they created with what I'm pretty sure used to be mostly a street spot.
I maybe just shouldn't.
This DIY under the bridge looks fun, but I can't honestly say it's a good spot. Since it literally rains like every day here, my friend Stuart took me to Unit 23, the biggest skate park in the UK, where these clips you're seeing are only half of the total space, if even. Stuart's claiming that his local is the best skate park in the world, which is just an even crazier take than me saying Tribeca is the best skate park in the world, but they've got a pretty good hip. I'll give it that. The Victoria's Secret stair set is probably the most well-known spot. Shout out to the homie Lyon. Transit Museum was dope. I'm sure I missed some parks and spots. I can partially blame the rain for that, but let's be real. If you're going to Europe to skate, Scotland is not going to be near the top of your list. I'm going to give Glasgow a generous 2 stars. Even further up north, we're in Inverness, the home of the Loch Ness Monster. I think that's pretty cool. There's probably 2 main attractions here. The Forgotten Road DIY, which was one of the coolest DIYs I've ever skated. You can watch my short on that place if you want some more information, but the main attraction, and ultimately the reason I brought myself to Scotland to begin with, is Inverness Skate Park. If you don't recognize this place or my friend Frank here, then all I can say is you may be too young and you really missed out on some good skateboarding online. This is Frankie Sinclair, Inverness local legend and one of the best skateboarders I've ever met. And this is the homie Xander, not to be confused with Xander Skate. He filmed all of the Frank MP2 and Xander Skate edits back in the day. This park doesn't look like much, but between the sentiment this place instills in me and the small features that make it a really solid TF, I rate this park really highly. But there's very little street to skate in Inverness. I think literally the 6 stair is all you've got. If you're someone like me who enjoyed Instagram in 2018, skating in Inverness is going to feel magical, but otherwise, being as objective as I can, and considering there's not a lot of skaters and the closest skate shop is 2 hours away, I'm going to give Inverness 1.5 stars, again being generous. After a quick flight across the pond, we're at our final stop, Dublin, Ireland, where I'm ending the same way I started, with no friends to skate with. Good thing High Roller Skate Shop had a business card for the skate scene here. This was exactly the sort of thing I was looking for. And after a suggestion to hit the curbs DIY first, I finally learned slappy 50s and I met some friends. I got to hit the homie Matas with my go-to line for meeting people at the skate park one last time for my Europe tour. Yo, you from around here? And since I had all the spots planned out for me, I didn't even have to hit the boys with the second most used line. So do you guys know the iconic spots around here? Obviously, this card didn't have everything Dublin had to offer, but I could just tell from cruising around and chatting with the lads that Dublin, like the UK, isn't exactly a dream skate destination. After a 2-day speed run with the bros, my body has been crying from the last 2.5 months, and I get to end the trip just as I started. Obviously, I still did it though, and that was Dublin in a nutshell. Extremely rainy, spots are quite spaced out from one another, skate parks kind of suck. The curbs DIY and the skate scene business card are the best stuff about this place. The people here are very nice, but I have to say, the standards should be higher than this for a developed country. Dublin is gonna get 1 star. After the last 3-hour night I'll have to take for a while, the trip is over. 75 nights, 18 countries later, I'm back in the city. Let me know how my nollie heels are looking. To conclude the video, I've got 3 honorable mentions along with my top 3 overall picks from the trip, ending with, of course, what I think is the best place to skate in Europe. Let's go. Our honorable mentions, Luxembourg City, Riga, Latvia, and Vilnius, Lithuania, in no particular order, are all cities you may have not seen any skateboarding coverage from before, but as we have found out, are the home to some very worthwhile spots and skate cultures, each with their own particular edge. Although Luxembourg is pricey, the other 2 are relatively cheap when it comes to European cities, so do not sleep on them. Before our final list, just take a look at this graphic and decide if you have an urge to do anything. Okay, let's go. Third on the podium is Czechia's city of Prague. I really wish I got to visit more street spots while I was there, but I wholeheartedly believe in this place, even though my experience was mostly at Tallinn and a few skate parks. A beautiful spot with a really strong energy. Thank you. Nah, it doesn't sound right. Let's get to number 2. Second on the podium, Forza Barça. Barcelona, Spain, despite being an obvious pick, really is just as good as it's hyped up to be. If you lived there for your whole life, you still wouldn't get close to hitting every spot. So many skaters, a vibrant scene. Despite Makba's criticism, it's a sacred cultural space, and some tapas and a drink after or in the middle of the sesh will never get old. And finally, if you're asking me, the yappy American, what the best place to skateboard in Europe is, I'm gonna say Copenhagen, Denmark. If it wasn't obvious as soon as I started speaking about the place, Copenhagen is as much of a skateboarding society as you can get. Between the skate-friendly city, the cocktail of skate parks, skate spaces, and raw street spots, this city has got everything, and there's a reason it's the second happiest place in the world. Copenhagen is straight utopian society. Thank you, Denmark. Thank you, skateboarding. Yes, the weather can be crap, but if you go in the summer, chances are you'll feel the magic. And there you have it. Those are what I think are the best places to skateboard in Europe out of the 18 countries that I went to. An unreal trip, definitely cost me a little bit, but the vibes, experiences, and friendships I made along the way are invaluable.
Maybe I was too nice, too mean, or too biased, so let me know in the comments. And let me know an underrated skate destination I should go to next. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye.